Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the June Advanced Learning Library Board of Directors meeting. Welcome, welcome. We do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. And the first item of business is staff presentation by Sara Dixon, who will be discussing Wichita's diverse history of baseball, and she is our programming manager. Sara, welcome.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
But in July, we're going to have Bill Dixon, who is our regional baseball expert out of Kansas City, talk about the NBC series specifically, which is a very Wichita thing. And it was one of the first tournaments to promote racially integrated baseball. They spent a lot of time and money bringing big name players like Satchel Paige to play here in our tournament. So, and it wasn't just Black players, it was players of various other minority, various other racial and ethnic backgrounds. And so that is something we're going to dive into on July 8th at 6 o'clock. And then our urban professional friends are going to host an exhibition game. It's our only in-person program, and it's going to be out at McAdams Park Baseball Diamond, and it's called Jim Crow Strikes Out. So they are hosting a softball game of Wichita notables, and during game breaks there will be family games, and we're going to have a speaker who can talk about the impact and legacy of McAdams Park in North neighborhood. So then, and that's July 11th, sorry, July 11th at 6. It's a Sunday, put it on your calendars. Then on July 14th, we have Shadow Ball. It's going to be another online program, but it should be really interesting and also entertaining. Rochelle Coleman is a historian and actor who embodies one of the players, Cool Papa Bell, who was a contemporary of Satchel, and he was one of the fastest players, and he was an outstanding writer. So he tells the story of Cool Papa Bell through various different things and gives us more of a broad look at the history of what was going on in the Great Depression and through the integration of baseball. So that's going to be really cool. And then finally, our last program of the series is on August 3rd, and it is, we're going to invite Kevin Mitchell, who is the author of Last Train to Cooperstown, to discuss the early years of the Negro National Leagues, post-World War I, and the early years. So a lot of things we're going to cover, but we're really excited, and it really turned into a really great series. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about what we've done so far for media coverage and marketing. We were featured at the May 6th Mayor's Briefing, where we were able to announce the series, and we brought in Paris from the African American Museum and Teichmann from the Urban Professionals to talk about their roles and their organizations. So that was great. And then on the same day, the Community Voice actually published an article also detailing the program series. And we've also used their paper to advertise all kinds of ways of getting the word out. Univision reached out to us because they were interested in interviewing Mr. Elias about his program on the Mexican American Leagues. So we're working to set that interview up. Sean Jones, our communication specialist, went to KWCH and talked about it on News Talk. And then we've done something a little bit different with our digital ads. Rather than just kind of put them on Facebook and whatever, we were able to use some of the grant money to do targeted ads, so that we targeted to the north neighborhoods around District 1 and McAdams Park. So that was a really good use of our funds, I think. Sean has also heavily marketed on social media, flyers, the posters, the bookmarks, the postcards, and we put those out to the community. So I'm really hopeful that the word gets out and people will join us for some or all of these wonderful programs. So if any of that interested you and you want to learn more, we put together a whole page on wichitalibrary.org/baseball, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions or comments for Sarah from the board? Not seeing any. Sarah, thank you very much. There's a lot of information there, and it's a good deal for the library. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Yes. Hope to see you there.
Okay. Take care. Okay, we'll go on with the agenda. At this time, we need an approval of the agenda. Everybody should have received your packet via email or regular mail. If you would like to make a motion to approve the agenda, please state your name, and for anybody doing a second, the same thing. So do I have an approval of the agenda motion on the table?
I would.
We have a motion by Jonathan. Is there a second?
Shelby, I'll second.
Thank you, Shelby. We have a motion by Jonathan, a second by Shelby. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda will be public comment. Do we have anybody from the public to comment today? It appears we do not. Next item would be the approval of the May 18th, 2021 Advanced Learning Library Board of Directors meeting minutes. Everybody would have seen this in your packet as well. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Lauren. Minutes. Who was that? Lauren.
We have a motion by Lauren.
Oh, I will second. Jonathan.
Second by Jonathan. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda will be item number 5, unfinished business. This will be the Evergreen Center naming process. Jonathan, you have the floor.
You all have a report in your packets. So I just want to highlight 2 points. 129 names. We are promoting to proposing to add time for taking public feedback on the 5 names. We would like to add 3 weeks. This would give more time for outreach through through the digital media. That would have us making our final choices in September rather than August. We have been told that that would not be a problem. Finally, I have a question for you all. It has to do with how we narrow down the 129 plus names that have been suggested, how we narrow them down to 5. When we were doing this for the Walters branch, we had only 70 names. And we didn't we didn't name our top 5 or 6. We didn't name the top 5 or 6. That's correct. We went in around robin, sort of a thing. So I would like to ask what you think, or what your thoughts and preferences are for this time. Since we're working with more names, that's the question.
Okay.
Thoughts and preferences.
So if I'm looking at the time frame on the sheet that's in the packet, July 22nd, which would be the next meeting, we would be challenged to narrow 125 129 names down to 5, is that correct?
Probably more. We might end up with 200 or even more.
Okay, so the question for the board, does anybody have a recommendation as to how the board would, each board member would narrow the names down to their top 5 and present that to the board as a whole?
Lauren has her hand up.
Lauren?
I do think that ranked choice voting is an excellent way to go because it's not just a yes or no, but it does give some weight to also the second, third, and fourth, and fifth preferences of each member. But I don't think that we'll want to have specific names that, how do I say this? There will be themes of the name, like maybe a particular person or word. And I think that we should look for the overarching themes. And then the board, from that whittled list, make our ranked choice voting. But I do agree that ranked choice would be good to do again. And possibly even online. I've been researching this for my organization, and there are services that we can use online to help with this, rather than going round robin, just so that each board member can contemplate. Or we just would possibly need a little more time to review them than we had last time and make our decision and bring it to the meeting ready to go.
Okay. Let's see.
Other comments from board members? I'm not seeing anybody else. Okay. Based upon that, Jonathan, what is it that you're recommending we do?
I kind of like the idea of doing things by themes. However, I have not yet realized I've not had a peak. Not since. I'm not actually sure how many themes or repeated things we will have until I can look again. We are also working with a slightly different set of requirements. Walters was wide open. With Evergreen, we are wanting cultural and neighborhood reactions or relative relevance. Excuse me, cultural relevance. So, how to fit that in is something that I would have to think about.
Okay. So how do we get all of this information to the board members through the executive director so that they have an opportunity to narrow the recommendations down to 5, which is what the time frame says we need to do by our next meeting?
So after the naming recommendation campaign ends on June 30th, the next day then I could send out the list to board members, so you'll have that list, and then you can use whatever technique following that.
Yes, that would work. Something else we could try is to have a survey monkey pool online, just for the board members. So then we would get the first cuts taken care of that way.
That sounds reasonable. What I would suggest we not do is have no communication until July 22nd, and then each board member would just present those 5 names. I think that'd be a little awkward. So let's have a little, I would suggest that we have, as Jonathan is recommending, a process so that the board members can utilize that process and get that information back to the director prior to the 22nd, so that there's time to turn that around and let all the board members know the collective responses, so that we have all seen that before we get to this meeting on the 22nd. Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
So what do you want the Survey Monkey that goes out to? So I'll send you the list of all the names, which could be like 200 or whatever it might be.
Right.
And then we'll send some kind of a Survey Monkey survey to the board members. And then what specifically do you want it to then ask you to do with those names?
We would ask people to put up to, say, 10 or 20 out of the batch of 200 or whatever. And then we'd simply count, and then work at shortening that list.
So then at the meeting, you'll shorten that list then?
We would narrow it down to 5.
From I'll send out the
Yes.
top 10 or 20, and then you'll narrow that down. Okay.
Was it going to be 10 or 20 or something in between?
I would suggest 20, just to keep it wide. For what would eventually be a long list. To keep it wide. General? Yeah.
So then everybody's, I'm just trying to think it through. And so everybody's list of 20 might be different. So we may end up with a list still of, I mean, some may be the same, so of course those will be higher on the list, but then there might be other names that are just one person's pick. So the list will be longer than 20 in that case, the final list that you will narrow down, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes. We would count the number of times then a given name had appeared in the list, in the survey, and then do ranking from that. That would give us an idea of which names that people thought are strongest choices.
Sean, will you be sending the Survey Monkey out, or Greg, will you be? I just want to make sure from the people who are going to create the survey, does that sound like that will work for you?
I think so, and I can work with Greg and Jeff to make sure that we get it flushed out before we send it out to the board.
Okay.
Okay, and when will the due date be for completion of the Survey Monkey by the board, so that we have time to accumulate the names, turn it around, and send something out from the director to the board members with the results?
It would have to be in a packet 1 week before July 22nd. So allow 2 or 3 days to gather the results and work with them in the Excel programming or whatever. That would give us a deadline of, July 10th or 11th?
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
What is,
So,
the 15th is a Tuesday, right?
the 15th is a Thursday in July.
Thursday.
So
I'll check. I made a typo in the report. The next board meeting is July 20th, not 22nd.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so, the 13th is a,
the 13th is when we would need to have it in the packet to send out. And so if we got all of the responses from the survey, by the 11th, then on the 12th, then I could go through those, we could go through those and put the rankings in it so that we could get them into the packet. Does that sound doable, Sean?
mm-hmm.
Greg?
And then, this is Jeff, and the form software we'll use, we'll find something that'll help, should do some of that automation, so you don't have, so it should, like, there'll probably be some kind of form where the board members submit, and then it would kind of gather, so it should catch the names that are similar between it, so it should do some of that, calculation ahead of time, if we do it right, so.
Okay.
So I guess I'm saying a quick turnaround is fine.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
All right, I think we're onto something here. So the naming recommendation campaign ends on June 30th.
Yes.
We will require that the board have the opportunity to see the results, get the Survey Monkey out to them, respond to the Survey Monkey, and have it back to the staff by the 11th of July so that it can be incorporated into the packet that would be due no later than the 13th of July for printing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, board, is there any comments, questions to that idea?
This is Shelby. Sorry, this is Shelby. I have not a question about the voting on the name, but before we leave the Evergreen discussion, the first paragraph about the distribution of door hangers in that district, and they were delayed because they were not delivered to the right area. What database or who did you guys use, and who delivered those door hangers?
That was an error on my part. I delivered them straight to Ana Lopez with District 6, and I sent them to City Hall, and she doesn't office out of City Hall that often right now. She's usually at the Evergreen Community Center. So I worked with our courier to make sure that we got it over to the Evergreen Community Center, and she had a team of volunteers that actually went out and distributed the door hangers.
Okay, so what database were they using? Like, were they just going to every house? I mean,
I asked her just to do houses in the immediate area around the library/community center.
Oh, okay.
We did residences, and I actually had some extra flyers that I gave her to pass out to businesses if they wanted them.
So you didn't do the whole district, you just narrowed it down just to houses that were around the library?
Correct.
Okay. And, so how were they delivered to the wrong area then? I mean, that's pretty easy if you're just saying the houses around the library. I'm just trying to understand how they got delivered.
When they were printed, they were delivered to me, and I sent them to Ana at her City Hall office instead of the Evergreen website.
Okay, so that clears that up for me, Sean.
Yeah.
You're not saying it got delivered to the wrong district.
No.
Okay, so the way it was worded, I was like, how does it get delivered to the wrong, like, area? That's what I thought you were saying in that paragraph. Okay, no, I've got clarity on that. Okay.
Okay, we have a question.
Jonathan?
It was very rainy a few weeks ago. Did that get in the way of putting anything on the doors, the door hangers out?
I'd have to double check with Anna. I know the rain did sort of delay it, as well as me sending it to City Hall instead. So I can double check with her today to see when they actually got out.
Sean, this is Shelby. How many did you print? How many door hangers did you print?
2,000.
And so, did you have to reprint those again?
No.
Jeff, did you have a comment?
Hey,
I'm sorry. Only if Shelby is done, I don't want to.
So my last question, Sean, is could we possibly have a sample at the next board meeting of the actual door hanger that was put on the doors?
Sure.
Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you, Shelby. Jeff?
Just a clarifying, and if we have to, we can do this later. Does the board want options to add names other than the 120, 200 that are on the list? Or are you going to be selecting just from the names that Christie sends out? That'll dictate how we put the form together.
Jonathan says? I think not. We didn't actually pick any of the names. We put on the top when we did the Walters, you know, so. And the naming collection does not close until June 30th. So if any of us want to submit a name, we can just do it now instead of after.
Okay, we will create the form so it's essentially just able to select the list that is provided and not fill in the blank type questions.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, concerns from the board? Hearing none, I think we're there. So I would assume that over the next few weeks, you're going to be receiving some information. Please look at it promptly and get it back with a hard date of return of July 11th. And thank you in advance. Okay, we'll go on to the next business on the agenda, and that will be new business. We have the May 2021 finance reports and bills.
Here's the top search result.
I'm sorry.
Something
Something okay.
unmuted came through, I think.
Okay, very good. I'll go ahead and give the finance report. The general fund bills for the month of May were $859,530.86. The grant fund bills were $20,730.56. The gift and memorial fund bills, $2,351.31, for a total of $882,612.73. In the bills for the month on the general fund, we did have some adjustments that needed to be made, and I'm going to let Christy go ahead and speak to that.
There was an adjustment in the budget for $160,291.73 for electricity charges for invoices that were paid using the central relocation project that should have been paid from the library's general fund budget. These charges include all of 2020, which is the amount of $756.90, plus February's 2021, $9,534.83. But there will be funds put into the library's general fund budget for the 2020 charges during our budget revision process, this year in 2020. And so that will be put back in. There were also 2 encumbrances that you'll see. There's a $15,000 encumbrance for the library director search firm. We have already processed a payment in the amount of $7,500. And then there's another encumbrance for $6,556 for a 5-day-a-week courier service that we use. And you'll see both of those encumbrances in that column on the general fund summary report.
Very good. Other than those individual line item issues, the summary report I had no issue with. Everything seems to be in order. We had 2 pay periods this month, and so if any board member has any questions regarding anything in the financial section of the agenda, please let me know. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I think everything's pretty cut and dry. Thank you, staff, for putting that together. I will make a motion that we go ahead and approve the May 2021 finance report and bills as presented in the agenda. Is there a second?
This is Donna Douglas. I second.
Thank you, Donna. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item under new business will be the item B, updates to policy manual. Do you want to discuss any of those?
Sure, I'll just quickly review. Each quarter, we review different sections of the policy manual, and then we bring any corrections and updates to you to approve. And so this quarter, we have reviewed the circulation, collections, and reference sections of the manual, and we have for you a few updates. Under the circulation policy, we've corrected a title of a policy reference to another policy. The title of that policy just wasn't correct. Updates, a title change from learning services to education and engagement that was changed with our reorganization. That just one reference didn't get caught when we went through to make those updates. And then it increases the limit of an interlibrary loan request for customers, going from 3 requests to 5 active requests per customer. And then under our circulation parameters, we're increasing loan limits for ebooks and e-audiobooks from 5 titles to 8 titles. It updates the equipment item type loan period from 1 to 3 hours to 1 hour to 28 days, which reflects our different loan periods for different types of equipment that we have. It adds a new item type for kits and library of things to include the new STEAM kits, telescopes, radon detectors, and hotspots that we have received through grants. And it increases loan limits for playaways and wonder books from 4 titles to 8 titles. And removes a specified length of time in which supervisors can make exceptions to loaning reference materials. During COVID and when we didn't have access to materials, we did make some additional exceptions so customers could have access to items. So we're just changing that wording so supervisors have the ability to make those decisions. And then we're adding new item type to the schedule under lost and damaged items fee schedules, and updating wording to match our policy for signing adults in our collections policy. In our reference policy, updating references to Linwood, changing those to Walters Branch, and then correcting the fee structure for renting out the meeting room at that location, and adding a new equipment to the fee schedule that we have for the AV Maker Studio at the Advanced Learning Library. And you have in your packet copies of all of those changes.
And we need a motion, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As Christy mentioned, all of these policy manual updates were in your packet. We'll take one motion to approve all.
I so
We have a motion by Jonathan to approve all updates to policy manual as identified on the agenda. Is there a second?
Kevin, this is Shelby. I have a question before we make a motion.
Absolutely, go ahead.
And maybe Christy can answer that. On the circulation update under C, 001, that first paragraph, customer registration where it says provides identification with name and current address. Is that like a utility bill, a state ID? What is that?
Yes, it could be any of those things that you just mentioned. So when a customer gets a library card, we just need to know that that is that person. And we need something with their name and current address. So they might show us like a driver's license as an ID, but if that doesn't have the correct address, then they might also show us a check or a bill that's mailed to them or something that has their current address on it as well. Oftentimes they...
Sorry, so you stated a driver's license, so that doesn't have to be in this verbiage that, driver's license, and you stated a photo to match with a photo ID.
We don't need to require a photo ID. We just require something.
Okay, then how do you verify? Do you verify like two proof of ID to match? Because I'm just thinking like when my son went to get his driver's license, even his learning permit, he, 16 was starting his permit, but had to prove identity and before he even got the photo ID, and that was he had to have two things that matched. And for us, lucky enough, he had a youth bank account that had his name and address, and then I forget what we used for the second one. But so I don't know. I was just a little confused in that statement.
Right.
How you buy that.
If they have an ID like a social security card, or they have a passport, or they have a driver's license or a state ID card, something like that to show who they are, but then something else that shows the correct address, because sometimes on an ID there won't be an address, so we need something else that has the name and address. But if they have something that has everything all in one, like a driver's license that has the correct address, then we just need one thing.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, first you said two forms, and then you said, or a driver's license will trump that.
No, yeah, I was just saying if it doesn't have the correct address, we would need a second thing, that we do not require two things if they're both on the one item. If they're both on the ID, with a correct address, we don't need a second item. I probably wasn't clear when I'm trying to say we need an ID and something that has the correct address.
That's what I was wondering then, if that needs to be a little more clarified in that first paragraph.
Jonathan, did he have a comment?
well, I was just going to mention if theoretically it's getting an ID card with a passport and a utility bill. I mean, they could do that,
Right. Yeah, if their ID doesn't have a correct address, then they just provide something that does.
Yeah, or just even the state ID, because that's on a driver's license, the state ID.
Right.
But it has a photo on it, and it's the second one like a utility, or something, or bank statement or something verifying.
Do we need to make an adjustment on this?
I think she's proposing that to you. The way it reads is it says that a library card will be issued to any registering customer who provides identification with name and current address, and who agrees to abide by the circulation policy. So I think maybe she's asking, should we state somewhere in here that says who provides identification with name and current address, and then you could go on to say they could be on two separate things, that like if the ID doesn't have a current address, you can provide additional.
I think just keep it simple and say, customer must approve identity with a photo and address.
Where are we at?
I don't know, I mean, we know what our process is, it just depends if you want it spelled out here, because, I mean, that's what we
Shelby,
accept.
are you suggesting certain verbiage change to that particular CIR?
Yes. I just think it would clarify it a little more.
And what would that language be, and can we go ahead and change that now and then vote on that?
If you want to.
The second one verifying the address. And a state ID is just a photo, it's not a driver's license, you just put it on the same place. Or any photo ID, like a student, who's at, USC 59 or any of the school districts has a student ID, when they get their little identification or tag. But then, verification of a second address, just like Jonathan said, that's
And just
bill or anything.
Just to be clear, we don't require a photo ID, we require an ID to show that that's who they are, and something that has their current address on it. It might be one and the same, it might be two separate things. And so I'm not sure if you're proposing that we now require a photo ID.
I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood, I thought that's what you said earlier.
No.
Photo ID.
Jonathan wants to add.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
If the thinking is not to require photo ID, I would suggest provide proof of identity and proof of current address. Simple. Well, I don't think that we need to say whether or not they have two forms of proof. Right, because it could be on one or two separate things.
Yeah, because if it's all on one,
Just as long as it's clear to have two, identity and address, that's it.
Hang on just a second, Shelby. Okay, Shelby?
I'm sorry, I disagree with Jonathan.
I didn't hear that.
She says she disagrees with Jonathan.
No, I agree with Jonathan.
Oh, you agree with, okay. So it reads something like, a library card will be issued to any registering customer who provides proof of identity and proof of current address. It would say proof of identity with name, I mean, that part might be left out, and proof of current address, and who agrees to abide by the circulation policies of the library.
Yes.
Okay, Jonathan agrees. Shelby, are you okay with that new verbiage?
Okay, so read that again, what is the
Okay.
change?
A library card will be issued to any registering customer who provides proof of identity with name and proof of current address, and who agrees to abide by the circulation policies of the library.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right, so we're back on the motion. We have a motion to approve as presented with the changes just identified for that particular CIR. Is there a second? Oh, wait.
Oh, no, you moved it.
Jonathan made the motion, correct? Yes, Jonathan made the motion, so is there a second?
I'll second. This is Shelby.
Thank you, Shelby. We have a second by Shelby. Is there any other discussion? Don't see any
This is
hands.
Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Yes. I don't see how that's different than the current policy, and what I read is the same thing, we're just changing some verbiage, which to me creates unnecessary work. So maybe I misunderstand the point of this change to the verbiage of the policy, because I think the website accurately expands to provide some more helpful information for people that may have, you know, misunderstanding or need further clarity. But I don't see the difference in the new policy wording.
Comments, Kristen?
It wasn't not clear to me, so it's, I mean, I'm letting you have the discussion. It's, like I said, we have our, process that staff know what they're asking for when they issue the cards, and we make sure that we've identified the person and have their current address, so, if you all feel that you want it worded differently, we can certainly do that, so it's.
Well, I think that's the discussion right now. Appreciate the comment, Lauren, but we do have a motion and a second on the table. We are gonna vote on that. That's what we need to do, notwithstanding your concerns. So, at this time, is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign? Opposed, same sign?
Aye, opposed.
Okay. Motion does carry. It is not unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda, we don't have any special committee reports, support organizational reports. Friends of the Library, Amanda's not here today, but Kinsley is here to take her place and give us a report. Kinsley, welcome.
Thank you. So I don't have too much. We have adjusted the hours in the bookstore just to accommodate how we've seen people come in. And then we do have a virtual book sale going on right now. It's going on throughout this week, and the planned pickup is Friday or Saturday for personnel to come pick up their bags of books. And that is all I have, unless there's any questions for me.
Thank you. Kinsley, is there any questions for Kinsley from the Friends? I see none. Thank you, Kinsley. We appreciate you being here today. Next will be the foundation. Christy, are you with us today?
Yes, sir, I am. Hello.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So I've been doing a very poor job of getting my reports to the folks that put together your packets. So once again, I have sent an email to you just a few moments ago with the information that I'd like to share today. I do have several things, and but I see the time, so I'll reduce my comments. And since I've sent you an email, if you have any questions, please let me know. The super fantastic news is that we've raised nearly $89,000 for funds that directly support the library, and that exceeds the total amount that we were able to raise last year for the whole entire year, so we're really excited about that. We did submit the cultural arts grant for $50,400, and you can read all of what I like to call the malarkey about that. But just to be clear, I wanted to share that last year in the WPLF provided $514,550 to the library for programs and services, and of that money, 45%, or about $233,000, was given to the library for cultural arts programs. So one of the obstacles that we have had as a support organization is trying to articulate to the Cultural Arts Committee that we do indeed create
cultural arts through the funding of library programs. And that without those monies, the library would not be able to have cultural arts programs. So I think we did a really great job on the grant, and we'll be meeting July 22nd in front of an 11-person committee. And one thing I do want to say is that we cannot, they have a rule about lobbying members of the committee. So if you actually know somebody who's on the cultural arts committee, please don't talk to them or try to engage them in a conversation around the grant that we've submitted. So that's against the rules. The other thing that we're working on is a new narrative for the Wichita Public Library Foundation. Currently, we need a lot of work on our website, but currently we have a lot of really great graphics and information that we put on our website or in social media or communicate in other ways. Very good messaging around our 2 fundraising events a year. One is the spring library giving day, and then the other one is year end. But in between that, we kind of are boring. So we're going to be presenting to the development committee a new narrative tomorrow that talks about the tagline is a stronger library for a stronger Wichita. So Cambry's really done a lot of work on that, and I'm really excited to get the feedback from them. Another very exciting thing I wanted to let you all know about is in the last couple of months, we have had, 5 different people have approached us about either their intention to make a gift through their estate to the library, or they've actually signed a letter of intent, which kind of is the formalization process that we're going to do this. And so far, I have letter of intents on $260,000 worth of gifts, and then I'm working right now on a $500,000 letter of intent. So I'm really excited about that, and that may be money. Well, they say that the average, which I am amazed that this is the average, is 7 years once somebody makes a commitment to make a planned gift in their estate to your organization. On average, it takes 7 years to receive that gift, and I think that that has a lot to do with how old the people are that are doing the commitment form. But anyway, we're doing but that's great news. So that's $760,000 that the library is going to be getting over the next however many years in order to better fund the endowment. So that's just super exciting. We're in the middle of an audit, which should be done mid-July. We're doing a June newsletter, and we're also looking at retention strategies for our donors. And one thing that was really surprising to me is still, with all the work we've done on trying to attain donor records, we still are just a little bit more than, well, we're at about 60%. So all donors we have in the system, we have 1,041 donors, and of those, we have 622 addresses and 338 emails. So, it's hard to ask somebody for money if you don't have their email or their address. So that's another issue we're going to be looking at this 3rd and 4th quarters of the year as we prepare for the year-end fundraising event. And last but not least, we will be coming to the library board about receiving approval to do another mailing for library card holders. So that will be coming up in the next month or 2. I think it's usually on the August agenda. So anyway, I just wanted to review that. Everybody should have a copy of this information in a little bit more detail in their email, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. That's some incredibly exciting news. So congratulations. Congratulations. Any questions, comments from the board for Christy Oberg? See none. Christy, great. Thank you for the report and have a great day. Julie Crawford, hello.
Hi, everybody. I've got two things. Number one is our meeting this coming Saturday for the Genealogical Society is about creating a research guide and just kind of appeals to researchers of all levels. You know, somebody who's just starting to do their genealogy or even somebody who's been doing it a long time. And it just helps you to get organized if you have a research guide. So one of our board members, Rosie, is going to be giving that, Rosie Wiley. And then the other thing I have is last night at our board meeting, we decided that we're going to increase our number of special interest groups. We call them SIGs, special interest groups, from 1 to 3. Right now, we just have one that's called Genealogy Talk, which could be about just about anything. People get together once a month. It used to be over at Westlink, but of course now it's been on Zoom for quite a while. But we're adding 2 more. One of them is going to be on DNA, you know, to keep the topic narrow. And then there'll be another one that's on technology, you know, the technology that you can use in your research. And those will be spread out in the month, so you don't have everything in one week. We've decided to use a Tuesday night and a Thursday night. And so we will start those later in the summer. Because on the ones that we've had on Genealogy Talk, it's very well attended, even on Zoom and in person. You know, this last one we had, well, maybe 17, but we've had them with more people than that, like 30 or something like that, and people enjoy those. So.
Great. Thank you for that report, Julie. Any questions from the board for Julie? I don't see any. Julie, you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda will be the Director of Libraries report. Christy.
Okay, so I have some updates on facilities right now. Our children's garden is coming along. JR Custom Metal is targeting this week to have the first 2 out of 7 planes completed. They are then trying to produce 2 per week after that. And Spirit has requested that the planes will come to them one at a time, and they will paint and deliver those then to here for installation. And Dollinger will begin installing those once we have 3 or 4 totally completed. So that will be fun to watch those get installed. Last week I reported on sidewalks, and they had not completed yet the sidewalk here at the Advanced Learning Library, but they have now completed that. And I've been watching people use it, so that's been good. We did find that the buffalo grass around that area is not responding well to shade on that north side of the building around the north staff parking lot and the entrance area. So we're working with Parks and Recreation staff to replace some of that grass. Some of that grass also died because we had used the wrong kind of salt, I guess, on the sidewalk in winter. And they plan to add some bushes and mulch to other areas around there where the grass isn't going to grow because of the shade. For branches, I did talk with the property manager of Walters, as you asked me to do, and she spoke with the owner, and he is not interested in adding a mural to that leased facility that where we have our Walters branch library. We did get our bike racks that we ordered for that branch, and we have put in a work order, and Public Works and Utilities will come and install those soon. Unfortunately, over the weekend, we had a broken window at the Alfred Branch Library drive up. Somebody threw rocks at it, and Public Works staff came right out, and they worked to get that covered up, but it didn't cause any pause to our service. It was on an exterior pane, and the building was able to be secured and everything, but they'll be working with our window company, the glass company the city uses to repair that. A police report was filed. And then you all might be interested in hearing any updates on COVID. Last time I also talked about the fact that the city is looking at the CDC guidelines and talking with other organizations and entities in regards to what that will mean for any changes to city policy changes. They did receive the OSHA guidance for employers, so they are working with the city HR department to update the city policy, but I don't have any other update beyond that. I don't know what the change may or may not be. Hopefully we'll hear soon. And also I had asked all of you if you would be comfortable meeting in person if we are able to, and I received 10 responses. 2 preferred to meet in person, 3 preferred to meet virtually, 3 are fine either way but prefer virtual for convenience, and 2 are fine with either option. So it's kind of divided, but just for your information, as things change with city policy, I thought you might be interested to know where you all are kind of thinking right now. We've been going forward with the budget process, and we've been given permission to fill 12, which is about half of our current vacant positions. And those will be the positions that are approved to keep filled through 2022. The director of libraries position has been opened, and a recruiting firm is currently collecting applications. We have a link to that on our website, if you know of anybody who's interested. And I also wanted to remind you that if you've not yet returned your conflict of interest form, to please return that to me. I think I'm only missing 2 at this point. And Carrie did, I think, send some print copies out if that helps to return those in the mail. And I apologize because we probably should have asked Daisha Eaton, our new library board member, to introduce herself. I'm happy to have Daisha with us at this meeting. She was unable to attend last time. Daisha, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Are you still with us, Daisha? Oh, there you are. You're cutting out, so it might be your connection. I don't think we have a good connection, but we're happy to have Daisha with us this time, and she works for USD 259 and is replacing Lamont on the library board.
Daisha, we can't hear you. You've got a bad connection. We'll catch up with you.
We'll try next time.
We'll catch up with you next time.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Christy, thank you for that report. Does any board member have any comments, questions, concerns for Christy regarding her report?
Hello?
You hear me?
Daisha's still trying.
Daisha's still trying. Daisha, we can't hear you today.
Sorry. You hear me better now?
Well, Daisha, we'll catch up with you next time. But okay. I don't see any hands. Lauren, you have your hand up?
Yeah, quick question about the Art for Walters branch. Was the question to the owner specifically about a mural painted on the brick, or was it just about art on the exterior in general?
Chuck's suggestion was a mural on the north side of the building. From the response, I don't think that he's interested in putting any type of painted mural or artwork on the exterior.
Christy Oberg?
Yes, I just wanted to let everybody know that the planes that are being painted by Spirit are being done so at no cost to the library. That is an enormous gift from them to paint the planes and then to transport those large planes to the library. So I just wanted to let everybody know, I think there's 7 planes in all, and so that's a very significant in-kind gift. So if anybody is close to or knows the leadership of Spirit, you might just thank them for that gift.
Thank you, Christy. Good information. Other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, next item on our agenda will be announcements. Does any board member have any announcements that they would like to share with us? I'm seeing none. Thank you very much, and at this time we will be adjourned for this meeting. Thank you for your participation. Hopefully we will meet again soon and be watching for your Survey Monkey in the next couple of weeks. Meeting is over. Thank you. Have a great day.